Traders, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over AMC, the indexes, and an option play that I'm looking at going into this week alone. Short-term type of trade, something like that. But we did have some good movement on AMC and GameStop, so I do want to address what's going on there, an option play that I ended up playing, and how I looked at where to get in and where to get out on that play in particular, because ultimately the goal with options on AMC is to acquire more capital, to buy more shares. That's the logic. Let's not waste any more time, but like, subscribe, do what you got to do. Let's get to it.
I got no drip in my pocket. Must have forgot it, or maybe All
right, so if you watched the video yesterday, I did say that I wasn't looking to get into AMC unless you got above this area right here, which you did not. However, something else did happen on the day. You immediately shot down, but you started bouncing back above that level of the open for the week. Now, one thing to notice is if you look at GameStop, GME, you were just shooting up from the open. So looking back at AMC, which typically follows GameStop, one of them will lead the other. You saw, in my opinion, this was an easy buying opportunity. I posted my position as well on Twitter. A little cryptic, but it was still there. I posted it for everyone. Now, personally, where I looked to get out of 50% of my actual options that I had on AMC was when you came back up to yesterday, or actually last week's level. You came back up to 38.7. I started closing at around 38.3, and I just did not want to get stuck holding some weeklies on AMC, so I had to start cutting those. Overall, made a decent chunk of change, things like that. Discord link down below. Now you're coming back down below that clear trend line and support. You're still making those higher lows, so that is worth mentioning. You can see you're making those higher lows, but I'm just unaware of where you're going at now. You're back below the VWAP. However, you're still focused on that trend. So could you possibly get some pressure back to the upside? Yes, but GameStop's now just getting dumped just straight through that monthly support that we had for October, and it's just going straight back down. In my opinion, AMC most likely attempts to follow this unless buying pressure comes in, and you're even back below that major support of 37.6, 37.5, all the way up to 37.85. So going from there, I would suspect you come back down to 35, 36 range, just looking at this, unless a good amount of volume and support starts to take place here. However, right now it just doesn't look like that. So if you're stuck in options and anything like that, I don't really know what to say. I do see some downside just based on what's going on here with GameStop. Now, something I do want to highlight is just going on today. If you look at the indexes, you were pushing up very strong at the beginning of the day. You pushed to these nice local highs, and then after lunch, you pretty much just dumped. You're sitting at around that monthly level. This is a major support, so I really have no clear-cut answer where I think the market goes tomorrow. However, I do have one stock that I really am liking. The Dow looks very similar to this chart as well, so you're going to want to just see this reaction going into the after hours and how this sets up tonight once Asia and London open. Around 2 a.m. is for London, 7 p.m. Central Time is usually Asia, so those are going to be the times to watch there. But the stock that I'm really liking is going to be Citigroup, ticker symbol C. Going into today, I started buying this right when you broke above the weekly. You shot up and you hit this like 73.6 range. I started selling at this resistance right here, 73.3. You kind of double topped and you came crashing back down. I started buying some once you started gap filling this area at 72. I bought a little bit here at the weekly. And at the end of the day, I ended up not buying more just because I don't want to over leverage or just get too far into position or get emotional with the trade. But one thing that I will say is you're pushing into earnings. Now, this is an earnings type play, but I'm never holding an option past earnings because things get really crazy if you've ever traded any earnings like that. Citi does have high expectations, and I think they're following a pretty bullish trend. If you look at something like Wells Fargo as well, they're all looking extremely strong. And if you remember the last time they had earnings, I was talking about them on the channel, things like that for earnings, and you can see that you just absolutely went crazy because you smashed those earnings, and the expectations, in my opinion, are as strong, if not stronger, going on right now. So I do like what's going on in the city. I do like these banking plays. Be a little bit careful. It is going to kind of depend on how indexes start to move. However, in my opinion, if there's a trade to be kind of risky on right now, for me, it's going to be the banks. Citigroup is the one that I like, ticker symbol C. Do your own DD. This is not financial advice. You need to be looking at that for yourself. But let's talk a little bit more about AMC. All right, so the first thing I do want to talk about when it comes to AMC is that I'm not giving you a bearish outlook on the long term. I'm just telling you what I see from the chart right now. And a lot of people are saying technical analysis doesn't matter, the chart doesn't matter, this, that. Now, if you're in the long-term game, no, it does not matter. But if you're in the long-term game, I really don't recommend following YouTube and you're worrying about the stock price every single day, because you're just going to cause more stress for yourself and most likely do something irrational when it comes to your position. However, if you're looking at the short-term analysis and what's going on, I do think technicals can play a big part in that. If you look at the past videos, there's something that is working because you're making money on a lot of these option plays based on how you're reacting from these support levels and where buyers are stepping in. And then looking at how GME is moving compared to AMC, they just tend to follow each other. That's just, in my opinion, what's been working and how I've been accumulating more AMC or just manage my position overall. So that's what I do recommend, is that just watch what's going on in the past. It's been a pretty good indicator of what's going on in the future, just looking at the stock. In my opinion, you see a little bit of a dip going into tomorrow, but if indexes start bouncing strong enough, you could start to see some type of recovery. However, GameStop looks absolutely horrendous. So the only thing that holds AMC up is if you start getting some more volume on these support ranges. If not, I do think you come down to 35, 35.5, maybe a little bit lower. That's just where I see us going. I do think we have higher lows on a broader chart. That's what I do see, is those higher lows stepping in. However, short term, I do see a little bit of downside. That's not a bear for AMC or anything like that. It just is what it is. I like Citigroup. Short term, that's what I'm looking at right now. Like, subscribe, do what you gotta do. We'll be back tomorrow. And remember, boys, we run the market.
But I'm about to take off like a rocket. Houston, we might have a problem, but that don't mean